Hello once again, welcome to your favorite sports show. It is Sports Pizza. My name is Edwin Onyebulise. Thoroughly excited to be here once again. I'm excited because we're here to talk sports and we have so much on our table. From the local scene to the foreign scene, we're giving you all of the latest news, information, and of course, top-notch analysis. And we wrap up the show in our usual manner, giving you all the very top tips going into the football weekend on the Tipsters Corner. So, fasten your seat belts and tell a friend that your favorite sports show is on. We'll go on a short break. When we return, we'll delve straight into action. Welcome back. It is still Sports Pizza. My pleasure to once again bring Bankole Oladuni on set. Banky, how you doing?
Edwin, it's good to be here. It's always good to be here, especially when you consider all of the drama that's unfolded in the last couple of days. I think, like you said in your intro, we will be talking about the VAR situation. And it was probably the most comical end to a football game that I've seen in a very long time.
Yeah, true.
You look at how the whole situation unfolded with Haaland and Szoboszlai and the referee and the whole celebration, and then VAR putting everybody in check. And I think it exemplifies what VAR should be doing in the game today.
All right, since you brought up the whole VAR issue, how about we start with that? Anfield was the venue. Liverpool won, Manchester City 2. It was City's first double over Liverpool in the league since 1937. But that's by the way. The main controversy, in fact, there were two controversial moments. The first one was Gay. Maybe we should start with that. His pull on Mohamed Salah. It was not a penalty. It was supposed to. It was a free kick. But the crucial part, or the debatable part, is if it was deemed to be the denial of a goal scoring opportunity. And if that was a doxo, it should have been a red card for Gay. But first, do you think it was a red card?
I don't think it was a red card. I don't think it was a clear goal scoring opportunity.
Really?
I think at that angle, there was still a couple of.
It was just Diaz.
There was still a couple of possibilities that Manchester City defenders could still intervene. Even Gueye, before Salah still. Will I say, have to change his body orientation before he takes a shot, and with that, it gives Gueye a slight second.
I think Gueye was caught flat-footed.
Yeah, no.
And if you look at it in,
it was outside. It was outside the
If you look at it in still picture, there's the assumption that Gueye would have caught up with him. But if you look at it in real time, number one, Salah was fast, or Salah is faster. Secondly,
not Salah of 2026,
but still faster than Gueye. Then Salah again had the momentum in his advantage. He had already turned to attack the space. Maybe Ruben Diaz, but if Ruben Diaz comes into court, then there were two other Liverpool players at the back post. So I don't know. For me, it was. I
don't think it was. First of all, I think the angle was quite difficult for Salah. I think, like I said, there were a couple of possible scenarios at which Man City would have come away unscathed in that situation. And like I said, I don't necessarily agree that Gueye wouldn't have caught up with Salah. I think at some point Salah would have had to change his body orientation to take a shot or to pass, and that would have given Gueye the opportunity to intervene, at least try to attempt a block or a tackle. But I don't think it was a red card. I think especially if the referee had given a red card, then maybe VAR might agree. But the fact that the on-field decision was not a red card, I agree, and I don't think VAR saw enough for the decision to be overturned.
All right, let's go to the other one. It was in the final seconds of that tie, and Liverpool had it was a free kick or a corner kick? A free kick.
It was a free kick. Then
Alisson came in. Then Liverpool sent it back into the box. Then, of course, from that scramble, Czechie played the ball towards goal. It was rolling into the net. Now, there were two phases of play that resulted in the goal being chalked off. The first one was a pull on Haaland. No, let me not even before I even break it down. Was the referee right to disallow the goal and issue a red card to
Yes, and I've been seeing people talk about the spirit of the game. People talk about football is come on, by the law of the game, it is not. It does not care about emotions. It does not care about your feelings. The referee's job is to, judge the game or officiate the game by the book. And that was exactly what happened. There was a foul. Szoboszlai already made a foul, denying Haaland a clear goal scoring opportunity. It brought the Norwegian down, and the referee probably allowed an advantage, and that advantage slipped the moment Haaland tackled Szoboszlai.
Yeah.
So it was a good call, probably perfect call, and I think we might also talk about it, but I think that was the best use of VAR. I think if VAR didn't intervene, or if there was no VAR, the referee would have gotten carried away by the excitement, by the celebrations, and you know what, let's just let it slide. But I think what VAR did then is the job of VAR, and I think it exemplifies whatever advantages that VAR poses ever since it had been introduced.
But for coaches, including Pep Guardiola, he opined that, you know what, how about you just allow the goal to stand, then the Liverpool player doesn't get red card.
Because there are several instances where that can happen again, even if it's not in front of an empty net. There are several instances, there are several phases of play where several other games where something like that would also happen, and it does not necessarily have to be an empty post before you carry out the law of the game. And I think I absolutely agree with VAR. It was not. I don't think it was a referee's call. I think it was VAR. There are two instances there where Szoboszlai tackled Haaland.
Yeah, pulled him first.
Yeah, he pulled him and he almost went to the ground, and the referee allowed advantage because Haaland was still running. Yeah. And the moment Haaland tackled Szoboszlai to get to the ball, or to prevent Szoboszlai from getting to the ball, the advantage had gone. So I don't think the whole emotional blackmail of is the spirit of the game, is the entertaining part of the game. I don't think that's valid. I think the game should be judged or should be refereed by the law, and that was exactly what the law determined.
All right, I kind of agree with you, Bankole. You said it all. The advantage for Haaland evaporated the moment he pulled Szoboszlai. Now, if there was no foul initially on Haaland, then the goal wouldn't have stood. Yeah. And Szoboszlai wouldn't have gotten a red card. But because that advantage, like you said, slipped out, the referee had to go back to the first phase of play. And that phase of play was Idogso. They now have goal scoring opportunity. But beyond the whole controversy, the better team won on the day?
Yeah, I think so. I think I was very disappointed with Liverpool. The first half of that game, it was shambolic. They allowed City too many space. City absolutely dominated that game. At some point, I think it was the first 30 minutes, City had about 70 passes in their half, and Liverpool only had one. And it showed you how dominant City was. And for a team that have enjoyed the reputation of being difficult at home, that was very disappointing to see. And I think I would have to blame Arne Slot. I think maybe the tactical approach to that game was not, what you would expect, from a Liverpool team sitting back and defending, especially when you consider that you have, probably one of the best, attacker in the game right now in Ekitike. So I think the second half there was a bit of improvements, but I think, if they had done that from the first half, we probably would have seen a much more even game, instead of relying on a Dominic Szoboszlai, magical free kick. Yeah. So I think I was very disappointed in Liverpool. But at the end of the day, I think when you look at the balance of the game, I think City deserved 3 points.
For Manchester City, the game swung once Rancheki came on, and throughout the course of this season, Pep Guardiola has made some very, very strange but interesting calls, and one of that is to leave either Tijani Rangers on the bench, or you leave Rancheki out from the starting lineup. You get a feeling that this is a manager who's in this moment feels like he's exhausted all of his options, and the first thought that comes to his mind is just, okay, you know what, boys, this is what I think we should do. It doesn't strike me as a coherent plan, because once Cheki came on, you could see what he brought to the team, the directness, something that Haaland thrives of. You don't give Haaland that service. You have a player who's capable of doing that. And the question is, maybe this is his final season at Manchester City, because as things stands, Bankole, yes, they won, but it doesn't feel like this is a team going in the right direction in this moment.
Yeah, I think Pep Guardiola is conflicted. I think at the start of the season, or throughout the duration of the season, we've seen him, try to be direct. We've also seen him try to do his whole heavy base possession thing. Yeah. And at some point, it seems like he's not sure as to which side to go to. Yeah. We sometimes, and I think the introduction of Rodri has also made it much more complicated for him. He has this guy who, what I say, is the symbol of the last two or the last 3 seasons of Manchester City dominating the league while playing, to his philosophy. But now it's quite clear that he has an assemblage of players who strive, in transition, who strive, when, the game is, will I say, chaotic a bit. The likes of Ryan Cherki, the likes of Semenyo, the likes of Omar Mamouche. These are all guys you play in a possession team.
Yeah.
If he's isolated 1v1 with a defender where he doesn't need, he can't use his space, to beat a player, he struggles, and you could clearly see how he struggled against Kirkes and even a midfielder in Szoboszlai playing in right back. So I think he has tried, to play to the strength of his players, and he has also tried, to double down, on his philosophy, and I think that has cost him sometimes. I think maybe in the final part of the season, 6 points gap between Arsenal and City, maybe he doesn't have anything to lose. You look at an Arsenal team who have looked basically almost invincible all through the season. Maybe it's time for you to succumb and try to compromise, try to play to the strength of your players. You have these guys who I'm sure would get you goals, who I'm sure would win you matches if you just play to their strength. And I think that's something Pep Guardiola also realizes, but he's also struggling to give up that authority, and that's my opinion about what's going on with City.
And for Liverpool, Bankole, you get the feeling that Arne Slot is beginning to feel the heat. Liverpool fans who at the start of the season were chanting his name right now are calling for his sack.
Yeah, absolutely, and I think some of his decision making also has contributed to that. You look at how, since the turn of the year, he has dropped points to Leeds, dropped points to Burnley. Teams that you should be beating. Teams that, and the worst part is he drew to Burnley at home. All of all the newly promoted team have gone to Anfield and have picked up points. Yeah, and that is disappointing for a team that is supposedly supposed to be the defending champions. I think for Liverpool and Arne Slot, I think it's just a matter of time. If he feels to qualify for the Champions League, and when you consider the managerial markets that might be available in the summer, you have Xabi Alonso, you have Thomas Tuchel, who will be running out of his contract in England. Same thing with Julian Nagelsmann. So you might consider, sacking him if you're the Liverpool hierarchy, if he feels to, qualify for the Champions League. And when you also look at the amount of money that has been spent, on a team that went on to win the league, you'd expect, massive improvements. The relationship with Mohamed Salah is also has grown to be stale, at this particular point. So for Arne Slot, I think it's just a matter of time. Especially if results do not improve.
I'm still talking about managers, ins and outs. Bankole, if you had the power to decide who will become Manchester United's manager at the end of the season, will you go for a proven name or you stick with Carrick if he gets them Champions League football?
I think when you consider the structure in place at Manchester United, when you consider how there's a certain hierarchy at Manchester United that you would say their authority supersedes that of the manager. It is difficult for a proven name, to come in and will I say adapt to that situation. We've seen it at several clubs. At Chelsea, even an Enzo Maresca, who just won 2 trophies, suddenly believed that he needed more say, in transfers and other things at the club. And for Manchester United, at this point, you don't need a big-headed manager, coming in. You need a manager who is ready to just coach, or an head coach who is just ready to coach, who is ready to just put the players in the right conditions for them to get results. And for Michael Carrick, in his first few games, he has shown that he's capable of doing that. And I think you might just be swaying towards his side, especially if he gets Champions League football. This is would I say low maintenance manager. A manager won't demand so much. A manager who understands the DNA of the club. A manager who has a certain relationship with the fan base also. So I think for Manchester United, if the results continue going towards the right direction, I think they'll definitely stick with Michael Carrick.
All right, guys, don't forget, this is still Sports Piece. I'm sure you're enjoying the conversation. We need to go on a short break. When we return, there's more on the other side. All right, welcome back. It is the second half of your favorite sports show, Sports Pizza. Remember, you can follow us on our social media platforms. The handles are showing on your screen. Banky, we need to come home. More embarrassment for Nigerian clubs. Is it Nigerian clubs? They represent Nigerian clubs now, right? Rivers United lost at home. 5 games played, 4 losses, 1 draw, 2 goals scored, 10 conceded.
Yeah, it is a fair picture of where we are, in terms of our football, and this is something we've always repeated, and I don't think anybody was even surprised. I think the only surprising thing from that game was that Rivers United scored first,
Yeah.
that was the only surprising thing.
When I saw the result, I was like, Omo, Okpeo, at least save some face.
Now you look at the result and you just it is bad, but are you really surprised? You look at Pyramids, a team that was established in 2007. You look at the gap between themselves and every club in the NPFL. Rivers United are significantly older than Pyramids, but in terms of structure, in terms of organization, in terms of reputation on the continent, you can't say they're on the same level. You look at Nigeria on the continent, or Nigerian club side on the continent. We are the Karabags of Africa. We are the Karat Almaty of Africa. Yes, we are. If you
Some people will not like this back.
I don't know if you cannot beat a power dynamos of Zambia, then you are the usually we used to believe that the power dynamos of this world, the Goa of this world are the minnows. But you look around and we are actually the minnows. We are the guys who yes, we are the guys who can't seem to phantom any form of momentum on the continent. We can't get any result on the continent. So I think you look at and the worst part is, it doesn't look like it's going to get better anytime soon. Okay, let's map out a 10-year period from now. What are the plans? What are the things that can be put in place to change this?
You see how the referees that was beating this
yes, who are the people that are in place to make changes? It is like I said, it is not surprising, but at the long run, I think this is just the beginning. This is just
this is just the beginning.
Yeah, this is just this is just
for almost 2 decades.
Do you think it can get worse? It absolutely can get worse. It can absolutely get worse, Edwin. And when you consider there are no intentional efforts to make things better, it will only get worse.
And in the NPFL, we have match day 25 done and dusted. Ikorodu City currently top the standings, but hey, bro, you get a feeling that it will all change because Rivers United have 4 outstanding games and they are level on point with Ikorodu City, who have 41 points. Nassau United are 3rd. Rangers complete the top 4. In the bottom 4, you have Kano Pillars, Kwara United, Remo Stars, and Kun Khalifa. For Remo Stars, defending champions, on the brink of being demoted to the NNL, Bankole.
Yeah,
interesting one there.
I mean, it is how the NPFL works out. You have a team who goes on to win the championship and then sells out about 90% of their players.
And you can't blame these players.
You can't blame, absolutely. You can't blame them for wanting to leave, especially when you consider the salary that has been paid in the likes of Rwanda, in the likes of Sudan, Ethiopia. These are guys who pay better money than we do right here in Nigeria. So you lose 90% of your squad, and then you have to start again from the beginning. You have to start from ground zero, and it's always going to be difficult, especially when you consider the way the NPFL is structured.
All right, enough of NPFL. A quick one from the Super Bowl final. Bankole, the Seattle Hawks, produced a devastating defensive display to beat the New England Patriots and claim their 2nd Super Bowl victory. For a lot of people, particularly from this side of the world, when you hear American football, there's this idea that it's being played with the foot. But hey, the ball is not round, it's not spherical.
It's just much more.
It is over, and you play more with the hand than with the leg.
It is for people, for our viewers and our listeners. It is like a much more aesthetically pleasing rugby game. Yes, that's how it is. Just imagine a rugby game with better costumes. That's how it is. That's how it is. And you had Bad Bunny perform.
Yeah.
And I think you look at the Super Bowl and you look at all the I don't want to use the word shenanigans, but you look at all the side attractions, and that's mostly likely what we get, at the World Cup.
Yeah.
You'd have, performances at the final, the opening ceremony, and I'm not really.
Bro, let's not go into that. I beg. Don't spoil the phone.
Let's just stick to the.
I want to see Davido Burna Boy.
You want to see Bad Bunny?
I want to see Davido Burna Boy perform at the World Cup final. Let's give you a video for the week. When we return, we'll wrap up the show with the Tipsters Corner. All right, welcome back. I'm sure you enjoyed that one. Shout out to our producer for giving us the effigy from the Super Bowl. Bankole doesn't want that.
Nah.
I'm sure you want it. All the highlight the halftime performance and whatnot. But Banky is going to happen. Imagine we have halftime shows in the NPFL.
Yeah, imagine
FA Cup final.
Imagine Kano players losing at halftime and then Davido comes out and starts singing. Nah, I don't think anybody will be interested.
All right, let's go straight to the tipsters corner, and we have two games. The biggest one in Italy, it is the derby, the Italian Inter Milan versus Juventus, and of course, FA Cup this weekend in England. It is Aston Villa at home to Newcastle United.
Yeah, for the derby d'Italia, I think Inter Milan has struggled against big teams this season, especially when you consider, and the biggest instance of that is the Champions League. The first 4 games where they played teams that you would understand that you would consider beatable. It was a clean sweep, but the moment they started facing the likes of Atletico Madrid, Liverpool, they got 0 points out of 4. So it shows you how Christian Kivu, as much as you can give him credit, for dismantling the smaller teams easily, he has struggled, against the bigger teams. And for Juventus, remember the reverse fixture of this game. We saw, I don't think we've seen that amount of golazos, in a game for a very long time. So I think Juventus, a team who are also, on the upward trajectory with Spalletti. Yes, they dropped point against Lazio, but I don't think they'll be really bothered, especially when you consider coming from 2 goals down, to get a point. It's something that will give you a lot more momentum heading into the derby Italia. So I think this is a game where we'll see goals. I don't see Inter Milan beating Juventus. I think probably both teams will score, and over 2.5 also seems fair. And Inter Milan 1 to 3 goals. The multi-goals market, you can also tap into that. But I think it will be a lot of goals in this particular encounter. So for Aston Villa against Newcastle, I saw a very funny but interesting stat for Aston Villa. They're the only team in the Premier League that haven't had a new signing score for them this season. Wow. And you look at how they've been, will I say, victims in quotes now of PSR. They've struggled to bring in good talent. All through, they had to bring in Douglas Luiz back. And
Tammy Abraham also.
And Tammy Abraham also on loan. So I think for Aston Villa, it has been a case of phases. They've had phases where they're really good and phases where they've been really bad. And for Newcastle, away from home, they've gotten a lot of stick. They're probably one of the worst teams in the Premier League when it comes to traveling, but I think Aston Villa should be qualifying from this one. I think you can put your money on Aston Villa to qualify, not to win, to qualify. You probably might go into extra time or penalties. Aston Villa to score also seems like something that you can get value from in your ACA. And over 1.5 or second half over 0.5 also is something that I like to add to my ACA to get full value.
There you have it. Remember, we are not responsible for any bet loss. I beg, bet responsibly. We only give you our expert opinion on the possible outcomes of these games. And that's about you can take on today's show, Banky. I'm sure you've had fun.
Yeah, I have. Maybe I'll go and listen to Bad Bunny after the show. But it's good to be here, Edwin. It's always nice doing this with you. And from me to our viewers and listeners, have yourself a lovely weekend. And
from me, Edwin Onyeboli said, do have a fantastic sporting week. See you same time next week.